My fellow Fogaricans, in this polarizing time, I feel like it's time for a State of the Fog address. I feel like the overall state of DBD has been pretty bad. It's been worse, obviously. However, more recently we have had just, Bug City, especially from the Walking Dead chapter. And since then, I feel like the game has just been in a place where it hasn't been able to recover, because there was the whole Chandler Riggs fiasco. They completely snubbed Otsdarva, one of the most respected voices in this entire community, and not to mention their quality of life update to their quality of life update. There has been a lot going on that just is not good. And I feel like the direction this game is going in is scary for most people. I will preface that I have a 60-40 split on Survivor to Killer, so I have more hours on Survivor. And I started playing about a year and a half ago now. So with that out of the way, I will go on ahead and talk about the issues and how I would personally solve them. I will start with anti-slugging, and I'll say I'm a massive critic of the devs' proposals to fix what's going on with slugging. The current idea is this accumulating resolve bar that takes 120 seconds to fill. The main argument I see on Reddit and the forums is that 120 seconds is half of the bleeding timer, so it shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, when you have perks like Breakdown, Boil Over, Breakout, Background Player, and teammates that are hovering under every single pallet, which got worsened by the pallet density update, by the way, you have cases where you are in a losing situation picking up and hooking a survivor, where it's literally just a lose-lose, there's nothing you can do, and that was purely by situation, RNG, and it didn't matter if you actually outplayed someone in chase. I feel like the main problem with slugging, and where I felt like slugging was just a bad thing, was four-man slugging. Back when they would just bleed people out for no real reason. I feel like everyone has at least had that once if you played a decent bit of Survivor. The person behind the killer is being an absolute dick. They just slug you and bleed you out for 4 minutes. That was a bad problem. I feel like when Behavior introduced the abandon mechanic, that solved the issue, but apparently that's just not enough for people, which doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like the four-man slugging problem was resolved, and I feel like you don't really come across slugging that's super problematic beyond that. So I feel like it should be a flat 120 seconds, because I feel like once you get to the point of, okay, let's leave our teammate on the ground for 120 seconds, and then let's just say the killer can't find them. So the killer wants to pick them up, and they can't get them because, the survivor might have Iron Will or something, and then they get free Unbreakable for the rest of the game, no matter what. You pair that with something else, like Soul Guard, and then you just get this situation where, no matter what, the killer just doesn't get any pressure. And I feel like that's overall problematic for the game. The 120 seconds should be accumulative, and I feel like it should be able to activate once per trial, and then it just disables. I would rather this not even be in the game, but if we were to compromise, I would say 120 flat seconds on the ground, because by that point, you're probably not getting picked up, and chances are, the killer can't find you because you're off in a corner or in between some rocks where they can't hear your grunts of pain, looking at you Ace and Ada players. So, now we have camping. This one is kind of short, but I think the range of the anti-camp being increased in the 9.3.0 PTB is unnecessary. Otherwise, I really appreciate it going up the longer the killer camps and proximity. I feel like this is overall a positive change, because I do feel like the anti-camp system, even though you don't see camping a whole lot, when it's supposed to work, it just doesn't. Like, I don't know if that's just me, I see a lot of people saying that, oh, well, it's fine, but I actually do think the anti-camp meter did need some changes. But I think 16 meters is the sweet spot. I don't think it needs to be increased to 20 meters. I think that's just absurd. So, yeah. And then tunneling. So, tunneling, in the end, is a strategy. All of the survivors watching this, do not click off, please. So, tunneling is it's the same thing as gen rushing. You're trying to be as efficient as possible to make the game easier for you to snowball. That is why we have anti-tunnel perks in this game. That is why anti-tunnel exists. That's why we have Decisive Strike. That's why we have perks that are specifically supposed to give you a second chance, because if the killer gets tunnel vision, you know, you can punish them for that. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that idea. Where I do see the problem, however, is when they can use that aggressively. And I feel like the new unhook protections that Behavior are wanting to push from this PTB, and even if it doesn't make it live, the point of this video is that this is what the devs think are okay. And this is inherently not a good idea. The tunneling changes are just abysmally survivor-sided, and it's not even close. You get an aura read within 32 meters that breaks undetectable, which has never been implemented outside of Springtrap's cameras. As far as I know, that is the only way you can read a killer's aura without, you know, without them having some kind of terror radius. They get base kit Lucky Break, a mostly base kit off the record, and it's for 30 seconds. That is 3 times what we have now. And I think this is insanely problematic. And I don't know how someone can agree with this, especially given that they also made it to where collision is back. So now you can have just coordinated teams aggressively body block whenever you're trying to go after the person that unhooked. Where I feel like this will just lead to more tunneling. People are going to want to tunnel more, and that is the problem. That they are trying to get rid of tunneling, but I feel like these changes, if anything, are going to make killers feel more pressured to target one person. And, you know, there are still killers, like, you know, Bubba, for example, where if you want someone dead off hook, if you have the right add-ons, you can get them dead off hook, and there's really nothing they can do. So I feel like inherently, if you're trying to give survivors these unhook protections to combat tunneling, I feel like they're doing more than just combating tunneling. They are just giving insane buffs that are hand-holding. That's all it is. This is blatant hand-holding, and I don't agree with this at all. I would be okay with them doing the elusive status effect and all that if it was 10 seconds, but they're not even doing that. They are making it way too overtuned, in my opinion. And not to mention, the devs also called it hand-holding on the killer side instead. They said that base kit pop and the free barbecue and chili, that was apparently too hand-holdy, according to the community, which was not at all what people said. But no, it's totally fine to give survivors god mode off of hook, and that's supposed to be okay. And I feel like they, and I genuinely feel like killers would not tunnel as much if they were given rewards for not tunneling. Make a karma system. Make like a karma system to where if you know, you're encouraged to not, or let's say you're encouraged to give props to killers that you find fun, aka not tunneling. If you give them props, give them iridescent shards. There's no reason not to do that. Like, Behavior has the system in place to track how many props you're given. Why are they not doing it? It makes no sense to me. I feel like rewarding players for behavior that they want is going to fundamentally make it better for them. So, you know, it's just something that does not make any sense to me. I don't know how these devs are not thinking about this at all. But overall, I feel like it's genuinely just, I have to physically facepalm seeing how these devs are not seeing the bigger picture here. If killers start to leave the game, and this goes out to all only, like, survivor-only players, you don't have a game. And if you do decide to pick up killer because, oh wow, nobody's playing killer, maybe I can pick it up, and you get bullied, and you get teabagged, and you get GG easied after every single game because, you know, all you're matching in are just comps, like, you're not going to like the game. And then guess what? You're gonna go right back to Survivor, or you'll just leave the game altogether, and it recreates the same problem. Getting rid of the current killer base is not going to help the survivor side of the community like people think, because the survivor side is the majority technically, but this is in my opinion a game where it's 50-50. 4 survivors make up 50% of it, and the killer makes up the other 50%. Because in the end, you need both roles to exist. If one role does not exist, the other role just doesn't get to have fun. So, I feel like it's a very simple fix. I feel like the fix is just you need to reward killers for not tunneling. Give them those rewards. Don't gut barbecue and chili behavior like you wanted to try and do. Don't do that. But give them rewards to where tunneling is not the most effective strategy. That way all 4 people can still enjoy the game, but just make it more attractive to not tunnel. That's all you have to do to make the game better. And I feel like you can attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. That is a old Southern saying that probably Bubba would have heard before. Okay. Well, this is my little one-take rant. My little opinions on the state of the game. And overall, I feel like all of this would be fixed by some kind of karma system. If we had a karma system, the game would be in such a better place, and the community would not be full of a bunch of toxic assholes. That's all. That's all I have to say. This community is cooked. If we cannot come to some kind of balance and some kind of understanding that killers that want to tunnel are not just being assholes. They're playing effectively. It's the same thing as gen rushing. There's no difference between tunneling a survivor and gen rushing. Alright, thank you for my State of the Fog address. If you like this, mobile users, give me your hype points. Don't do it if you don't like the video. Critique me, you know, I want to improve at this. Thanks. Bye. You attract flies with honey, and you attract honeys with, and you attract, oh fuck, you attract flies with honey, not vinegar. Fuck.